we're live across the pitch. Not Jose Nunez or Mike Barrera. Todd Lewis with Kyle Almany.
Yeah.
We're live in Subaru Park. Again, back with the live podcast, post-game shows at Subaru Park. Thank you to the Philadelphia Union for allowing us to continue this show. And thank you to Mike Barrera and Jose Nunez for allowing us to host the show tonight with Jose working on a story for us. He's actually to our right, you guys left, working on his story for MLS. And Mike, I think, is in Maryland. I'm finally not for once in Maryland. And so it's Kyle and I. And so, Kyle, exciting night of soccer at Subaru Park, the Union's home opener. A lot more fans than what I expected, honestly, just because of the cold. And this place was rocking tonight.
It really was. I mean, right from the get-go, the River End was packed. Even like the middle, usually when you early on in the season, you can tell, but like the north end of the stadium was really packed. It was just a good atmosphere. It was rocking early. Just really good vibes throughout the night.
Yeah, it really was, and I thought it was pretty cool. I think they did show a clip of this on the broadcast. Obviously, like I said, we're in the stadium. We're actually in the cafe area for the press. We usually, Jose and I, last year would do the show outside in Subaru Park, but because it's still so cold out, it's windy, and when Kyle and I were walking up here, they were playing music over the loudspeakers, and we were like, yeah, it's probably best not to do the show out here and get AAT Sports copyright strike. So we're like, you know what? The lights are on in the cafe. Let's go into the warmth where we're not freezing. But they had introduced JP Della Camera tonight as the drum striker. And I know they posted that a little bit, I think, like I said, on the broadcast. And for people who may not know, JP Della Camera used to be the longtime Union play-by-play voice on the radio. And yeah, it's great to see the Union honoring him being the drum striker. I think he's done that twice now.
Yes.
But they dedicated the radio booth to JP Della Camera. So that was an awesome honor tonight.
Yeah, that was a real classy move by the club, honoring one of the original, announcers. And I just think, especially now with what he's doing across other areas of soccer now with MASL, NWSL, all that. It's just really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we would be remiss, obviously, if we didn't talk about the opening night before the game, the Philadelphia Union, and shout out to them for honoring Holden Trent, as we all know, sadly passed away at the age of 25 years old last season. The Union had a number 13 printed out into the field, the touchline, and 13 was Holden Trent's jersey number last season. And Trent's mom was here, as well as his sister, and the Union had a wreath of flowers and Holden's jersey in a nice display case with Nathan Harriel and Phil Wedding accompanying those two. And so it was really a great tribute by the club to hold that moment of silence for Holden Trent. And look, you and Jillian, your wife, you guys covered Union 2 a lot last season.
Right.
And we saw towards the end of the season, just every opportunity that those players got, Marlon LeBlanc got, they would always talk about Holden Trent. And so I was glad to see the very first game back at Subaru Park that the first team did something in honor of Holden.
It was a really beautiful moment. And I mean that because usually once things like that happen, it's done. But to see the Union kick off the season with remembrance, I just thought that was a really kind of like nice, classy touch, especially kind of what Carolina Core is doing right now as well in MLS Next Pro. So just a lot of support for the Trent family right now, and you love to see that. So, again, I thought it was very classy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Union, they set off the fireworks fast tonight with Ty Baribo getting the first goal in this game. And, yes, we'll get to it. He had 3 goals. We know, Kyle.
He could have had more than that a couple of times.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah.
And Ty Baribo, as Kyle almost knocks over the table as the laptop's on, Ty Baribo just continuing his fine form that he had in Orlando. We know the 2 goals he scored. And this form really started with Ty in Leagues Cup, winning the Golden Boot in the second half of the season, replacing Julian Kranza, who had got sold to Feyenoord. And it was always a case of what did the Union exactly have in Todd Rubio? And once he got that starting spot, we saw it. The 2 goals in Cincinnati in regular MLS season play, then 2 goals in Leagues Cup, and he kept scoring, kept scoring. And the last week in Orlando, 2 goals. Now the home opener, 3 goals. But the way that he scored his goals, the movement from Todd Rubio, from Mikel Ua, from Quinn Sullivan, from Kai Wagner, I mean, this is an offense that is extremely locked in. But Todd Rubio in particular, it looks like he hasn't missed a beat from last season.
No, it really hasn't, and that's the big thing there. He, like any striker, you got to go through ebbs and flows. But, at the end of the year, last year, particularly in those last 3 games, she cooled off a little bit, and you're like, oh, does Ty still have it? Well, he started off the year like, yeah, I still got it, and now he's looking in that form again, which is great for this club. But the thing that's really sticking out to me is the communication between him, Mikel, Danny, Quinn, even Danley, Jean-Jacques, and Yvonne now. You're seeing all the movement, all the communication. We're only 2 games in this season. There's a lot of hope there. And particularly just seeing them flick on, make the cuts, switching off, all that, it just reminds me a lot of, I'm not going to say the year, but they're playing their cohesion right now. There's not like they're playing loose, they're having fun. And winning does that, but just really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that, stood out to me was the Union had held, and I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but the Union had held Cincinnati to 1 shot in the first half.
1 shot.
And I had posted that, no shots, but then FootMob updated and said, Vander had a shot in like the 47th minute, 3 minutes into stoppage time in the first half. But to see the Union come out here and shut down a prominent Cincinnati attack in the first half, and I would say overall in this game tonight, they did a good job keeping the main men quiet. I know Vander got on the score sheet. Danke hit the post. But in the first half, look, Cincinnati had nothing. And that's a credit to what Jovan and Danley did in the midfield, but then also the back line of Kai Wagner, Makanya Glesnes, and Frankie Westfield. This was a solid defensive performance in the first half, but overall for the Union.
I want to start off to give my flowers to Makanya. And this isn't just saying that. For his second MLS career game, he holds off the highest transfer fee, incoming transfer fee, and Kevin Danke. He kind of kept him checking out. Danke has moments here and there, but it wasn't like he had a total, run of the mill on Makanya. And there was a couple plays Makanya held his own. Frankie, again, on the outside, continued to hold his own. And I know I asked Bradley Carnell about, the communication in the second game, Danley and Yvonne. It just, again, it goes back to what I said earlier. But, that was a big thing. I know at halftime we were looking at the heat map there on FootMap on who scored. And you and I both looked, they're totally dominating midfield. And you could see it. And I know they played a midweek game. I know it's the second game of the season.
And they have a game on Tuesday against Tigres.
Yes,
I think that's important.
And I think that is important in context. But you can play like this on a consistent basis. Maybe not every game, but consistent basis. This is what you want to see.
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate everybody in the comment section. Valerie, Michael, and let us know, right? So I have my personal mic here, and then Kyle also has one.
Yeah, if you can't hear us.
If you can't hear Kyle good, let us know, and then we'll just switch my mic back and forth. But yeah, his mic should be set up. But we have Michael saying our passing looks clinical, and you had brought this up too, Kyle.
Yes.
Where you had said that what the Union had how many passes completed? 76.9% passes completed. Last week, I think it was 80. And for a team that wants to play this transition style of soccer, they want to, play these long balls up top, which is fine. That's typical Red Bull style of soccer. And it worked tonight with the Union, and we can get into the goals tonight. But, for a team that's not supposed to be known for the passing, and a player that would thrive, I think, with the way that the Union are passing this ball is Jack McGlynn.
Right.
But it shocks me that the Union in these first 2 games have completed over 75% of their passes in those 2 games. And I don't know about you, Kyle, but yeah, that's a pleasant surprise for me.
It really is. The passing's one. The other thing is the amount of shots. In years past, we're used to seeing the Union take 20, around 20 shots. This year, I think both games they've taken 14. Now, granted, you want to see them take a few more shots. But tonight, 7 out of 14, 50% shots on target. Again, that's what you want to see. So I think, like you said, the passing's been phenomenal. And also just, you brought this up too, about just their form, how they know where they need to be and holding their form on and their shape during the game. And there was a couple passes, I don't know if anybody in the chat saw it, where they were just in the corner trying to break out box, but there was just these little ping pong passes, and then they'd spring one over. You never saw it. I mean, you see it every now and then, but now this is 2 games we've seen this passing kind of like this. It's just really promising.
Yeah, and the one thing too, and this is probably on me, right? I should have asked one of the players after the game whether it had been Daniel Gazdag or Ty Baribo, and I don't know who the third player was because we wanted to get up here.
It was Bruno, I think.
Bruno? Okay.
Yeah,
we wanted to get up here and get the show out for you guys. And just looking at the passing, and one thing I noticed was a lot of one-touch passes.
right.
You saw it on the first goal with Ty Baribo scoring. I'm looking at it right here on my phone.
Mhm.
You have that long ball up top by Makanya. It's a chest down by Mikal Ua into, it's hard for me to see, Quinn Sullivan. Quinn Sullivan goes on this run.
Yeah.
And then he eventually loses the ball, but, Kai Wagner's right there to intercept this pass, chest it down into Mikal Ua, one touch into Quinn, one touch pass into Kai Wagner, one touch cross by Kai Wagner into Ty Baribo, and it's a one-time finish. And this is exactly what you want to see. You want to see quick interchanges between these players. And again, we knew coming into the season that the Union would be playing a lot of Red Bull style of play. And this is what you want. You want quickness. You want to turn the opponent over quickly. And we've seen that now 2 games into the season. But like I just said, it's the one-touch passing. And that's something that surprises me with this team. And it goes back to completing over 75% of the passes in the first 2 games of this season, which I don't think anybody thought they were going to do that. But the passing, the chemistry within this team, it's maybe shouldn't be that surprising, right? Because you look at the starting 11, same as it was against Orlando. And I think 8 out of the 11 players these last 2 games in the starting 11 had been with each other for a couple seasons. So the chemistry is there. But to see them put up 8 goals in 2 games, I mean, wow, I did not have that for this team.
It's interesting. You bring up a very good point about the chemistry. I think that's huge. However, what really excites me is sometimes you do the same thing year after year after year. It gets a little stale. Teams start to figure out, and they just switch it up, and it gets exciting. People know what I'm talking about. I think it's just a perfect storm right now. That new energy, the new system Carnell wants to play, mixed with the familiarity. Now there's some new pieces, and that's a good thing. So I think it's just a perfect storm right now. But you're right. It's so exciting because there's always been the talent with Quinn being able to cross the ball and Kai being able to cross the ball and like that. But you're now seeing it more and more consistently. You've always been able to see Ty run on the ball. Now you're seeing it. So, again, it's just really exciting. And it shouldn't come as a surprise. But, yeah.
Yeah, and Subaru Park last season, we don't need to remind the listeners, but I'm going to do it anyway, where this was a tough place to get a win for the Union. 4 wins all season long in MLS play. That was the fewest ever in franchise history. And to see them, first game of the season, get a win in 2 games, 2 wins. And look, I know it's easy to get all excited, to get really, really high up on this team. But there's a lot to like with this team. And it starts with, Michael says that, I'm trying to get the comments here, guys. A little bit hard with the camera and the laptop pushed so far away.
Can I ask it for a timeout? Can you
Jose's here.
Hi, can you text Skylar for the Damiani audio if he's got it?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Jose working on his story for MLS. So, look, you guys were wondering, where's Jose? Where's Mike? Well, you just got a 10-second appearance from Jose as he's working on that story. But, Michael had said right here, those short passes are so fun to watch them build. Jovan is so fun to watch. And I don't know. I mean, I think there's a good transition into Jovan. If I had to ask you, Kyle, who your player of the game is, and I think everybody's going to say Ty River scores a hat trick, and yes, goals matter.
Yeah,
but if it's not Ty River, who would you say your player of the game was? And maybe Michael gives you gives you a little easy one to grab. There.
No, I even said that up at the press box towards the end. Jovan is my player of the match, and I'll be honest with you. I would even give that back line credit too. Now, what Ty does, hat trick, it's great. But I mean, Jovan and I leading the attack. There was a lot of times those goals were getting started out the back in the attack by Jovan. So it's really good to see. He was just, again, I go back to the communication with him and Danley. Has been very impressive early on this season. So, yeah, I would give Ivan Lucic. Wow, I just butchered that. Lukic. I give him a man match for sure.
Yeah. I agree with you, right? And I'll do this tomorrow on my show, not to plug my show.
Yeah.
But I'll go over my 3 stars on the night. But I think Jovan Lukic is going to be a player Philadelphia Union fans are going to love for a very long time. I think
I do too.
They're going to, nobody's ever going to replace Jose Martinez with what Jose Martinez brought to this club. But you do have a really good replacement in Jovan Lukic, who looks like, he can fill the void that Jose Martinez left in this club. And, if he can give you half of what you had in Jose Martinez, you have a good player. But I think Lukic, and it's so hard for me to say this because it's only 2 games in, but if he keeps playing this way, he could potentially be better than what Jose Martinez was for this club.
Potentially. And I go back to our friend Mark Eckelberg. Sorry, Mark. He called him in that video an all-action defenseman. That's what he is. He's as good as advertised. The thing that surprised me the most about him is his playmaking. That's been the big shock. And there was a ball now, I don't know if you saw it, where he just literally trapped it in traffic on the top of his head. The ball just stops, drops it, and just flicks it on to like a player. I'm just like, that's what you want to see, And then it's just defensive play. It was really great.
Yeah, you have Jillian, your wife here, commenting. Jovan was phenomenal tonight. You have Michael saying,
"Who's that?
Who's that? Yeah, I don't know. You don't know that person?
No, I don't know that person.
Michael says Jovan Lukic, player of his match tonight. We have Jeffrey saying, agreed. I think he's a much better player than Martinez. Wow.
Ooh, that's.
Could that be a hot take right there?
That might be hotter than my Bizo take. Sorry to bring that up again, but jeez.
Well, I don't know. This is a new show. These people might not know your Bizo take. Do you want to let a new audience know what you said a couple years ago, Kyle?
What, they said Bizo could be a top 5 back? That was the worst take I ever had. That was coming off of that 21 season. I thought he bounced back. Yeah. So, anyway.
But the one thing I will say, right, with Jose Martinez, he would occasionally give you turnovers and everything because he would take too long on the ball. And that doesn't seem to be the case with Jovan. And look, Jose, I feel like he's a flair player. He always wanted to do the phenomenal, where how many times last season did we see Jose Martinez go out and do bicycle kicks for clearances at half field?
Almost taking players
out.
He's
done it with Corinthians.
I know,
that's something you can't take out of his repertoire. A player that's just going to do all this reckless stuff. And sometimes it's going to cost your team, but also sometimes, too, it's going to work out for your team. And 2 games in, we haven't really seen that from Lukic. And it's yet to be seen if we will. But yeah, for me to sit here and say that he's already better than Martinez, it's hard for me to say, but I respect the opinion there, Jeff. I mean, 2 games in, Jovan looks like a phenomenal player for the Union. It looks like a great hit with this scouting department, and there's going to be plenty of games going forward that Jovan's going to continue to impress. Going back to Ty Baribo, because look, he did score a hat trick in this game, and we should spend more time talking about Ty Baribo. Too soon to say that he should be a contender for Golden Boot of the Year, Kyle?
I mean, let's see. I mean, you want to see him if he can consistently keep this up. It would be exciting to see. Now, my question is, as he continues to grow and continues to develop throughout the season, I'm really excited to see what the future brings. I think the best part I've liked is all those goals running in the box. That's the style of play
That's cool. Thank you.
that Bradley Carnell wants us to play. You saw a little bit of that at St. Louis City, and that's when they were successful. So, and that's the kind of player Baribo is. And yeah.
Yeah, and we have Hoagie here saying Brubo Golden Boot. I think he is actually in the Golden Boot right now. Kyle, look it up. Give your laptop.
Yeah, I got my
He has 5 goals in 2 games. But
good deal.
the chemistry with Mikhail Ua, with Ty Brubo, with Daniel Gazdag, that was to be expected just because we saw what they could do last season. And maybe that was part of the reason last year that the Union didn't get into the playoffs. Yes, defensively, the Union were really, really bad, but what was it? The last 3 games of the season, Baribo, Gazdag, and Ua all didn't score in. And we had said both on our shows that, this team's going to go as far as those guys carry them. And Jim Curtin would say the same thing, too. And the goals, unfortunately, weren't coming towards the end of the season from those 3 players. Kyle has it pulled up here. Yep, 5 goals. Ty Baribo, Golden Boot winner. Who would have thought 2 games into the season, Ty Baribo has more goals than Lionel Messi? Yeah, I know Messi didn't play against Houston.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, what a steal by Ty Baribo. And the fans always say, imagine if they would have played Ty when Julian was here, what this team could have potentially have been. And look, I hate to rehash old topics, but it is a good question, right? And who's to say Ty Baribo would be in the same form that he's been in since the summertime? It's hard to say, right?
Right.
But the one thing we do know, right? Mikhail Ua is playing really good 2 games into the season. Bruno Damiani gets a goal on his debut. And everything that's crossed towards Ty Baribo, he's putting it into the back of the net. The Union have 3 really good options. We know guaranteed coming off the bench. And the one thing we know with Bradley Carnell is he will substitute players. Again, 4 substitutes tonight. He does believe in competition. He says competition's good for this team. We've heard him say that so many times, says it again tonight. And players will get their chances. Players will get their opportunities. And maybe Damiani starts the next game next week against New England. Who knows? But the one thing we know is all 3 strikers are in fine form.
No, they are. And that was, it was really refreshing tonight. They're up 3-1, late in the game. They don't keep Daniel Gazdag in. They bring in Kevin. That's nice. And Indiana comes in as well. Getting some of these guys some break. But there is flexibility within this system, and I'm really excited about that.
What about this question from Hoagie? Does Baribo's 5 goals in 2 games make Curtin look mistaken?
Again, I kind of go back to what Jim said last year. If Ty looked the way he did early in the season as he did in the summer, I kind of give Jim the benefit of the doubt there. But it's always one of those what ifs. Julian and I have our show, What If, once a year. What if Ty Baribo did play with Julian? It's something to ponder. But
what about this? Kanye, too. Look, he's been here since 2023. And he spent all of 2023 in the summertime with Union 2. Spent all of last season with Union 2. Bradley Carnell comes in. First 2 games. And yes, I know Jan Glavinovic has been injured, and Bradley said tonight, he's not 100%, and that's part of the reason why Nathan Harriel wasn't on the bench, because he's still not 100%. And he said when those bench options are so vital, you don't want to have 2 players on the bench that aren't 100%. So for fans asking what's going on with Nathan Harriel, that's the update on Nathan Harriel.
Yeah.
But there's a good point too, right? Makanya wasn't playing, and to Michael's opinion, to his thought, he was running circles around Denke. And he did keep Denke in check for.
He did. I mean,
game.
Like I said earlier, Denke kind of beat him on a couple plays, but nothing too inconsequential either. So, having said all that, it is interesting, right? Maybe it's just a different coach. Sometimes a coach's voice gets stale. It is what it is. But not saying that Jim didn't believe, but
Well, the thing with Jim, he would always say is, he's not showing it in training. And Jim's a coach that,
you had to show it in training.
You have to show it in training. You being a former college coach, I'm sure it was the same thing for you too with your swimmers. And
sometimes it always didn't work out. That was always the thing, And then sometimes they would surprise you and be like, okay, but why aren't you doing this in training? And you have those thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. And I never coached or played at the highest of highest levels, but my coach would always say to us in high school, if you train like it's a game, the way you train is how you're going to play in the game. And I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, honestly. Maybe you have a different opinion in being a coach at the highest level, Kyle. But
it depends on the athlete. It really does. Some athletes, yes. Some athletes, no. It just really depends.
But the truth of the matter is, once Baribo got given a chance, he started giving goals.
Mm-hmm.
Getting goals, and that's all he knows is goals, and goals. A lot of comments coming in here, guys. We appreciate it. Todd Lewis, Kyle Albany filling in for Jose Nunez and Mike Barrera on across the pitch. Thank you to them both for allowing us to fill in on the night. You can see all their handles down below on the ticker. Again, thank you guys for the comments. Frank says right here, with Baribo not playing right away, it made him hungry when he started playing last year, and that has only continued the start of this season.
It's a fair point.
Fair point. We have a comment here from a Philadelphia Union fan. If you win now, you can have rest later, and that's what we're going to need by the end of the season. Yeah, exactly. I mean, win all the games that are in front of you, and where the Union were in a situation last year where if they would have beat Cincinnati, they would have been in the playoffs, and the Union should have never been in that position. So you take care of the games at home. That's a big part of why the Union missed out on the playoffs. 1-for-1 so far in this season, and hopefully that continues in this building. This place was electric tonight. Again, we started the show talking about how it's been so cold, and I was a little bit surprised that we had this many fans here in the stadium tonight. One thing I thought about is, oh my God, dude, those premium seats, no bueno. And somebody's going to get rocked by a ball. Quinn Sullivan came close to hitting somebody in the premium seats, but the ball had too much lift on it. Again, great comments, guys. Frankie to the moon. I think you're sell Bizo or Harrell by the end of the transfer window. I think Bizo is more likely than Harrell, in my opinion there, Evan. But yeah, Frankie had a fantastic game against Vander and Denke on the night. Here we go. Philly Union fan. His press conference talking about the Philadelphia Union fans and telling the team and these guys are sitting out here interrogating from the moment they showed up to the game. Michael, I want to see more Bruno. His passes are impressive for a striker. Yeah, I think you will see Bruno play a lot more. I mean, you pay $3.4 million for him. And look, you're a Mikael Uhre fan, Kyle, and you want to see him play. And I totally get that. But, competition's good. And, there's going to be moments where Bruno and Ty, I think, are going to start. There's going to be moments where Bruno and Mikael start. Yeah. I guess it's kind of hard to say you put Ty Berube to the bench with the form that he's in. But regardless, you got three really good strikers. These strikers that are in great form right now. And it looks like the Philadelphia Union finally have a bench.
It does. And that's not a bad thing either, because like I even heard Ty say in the locker room, those three are now going to be able to push each other. Actually, those four with Danny too. They're going to be able to push each other every day in training. And maybe if the matchup's not right for Mikael, maybe they have some fast backs that he can't get up behind him. Then that's a good matchup for, Ty, but vice versa, plus then as those center backs getting tired, like you've said, I've said, a lot of people have said, you can then run on tired legs in the second half. Jim's even said it in the past. But then you can also basically be able to switch off based on the matchup on the defensive line.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another comment that I saw here. Maybe I lost it. There was a Jeremy Raffanello question. Here we go from Cole. My question is, where was Raffanello? Is his time coming to an end? God, I'll be honest. I didn't even notice. Was he not on the bench?
No, he was not on the bench.
That's news to me.
He was not on the bench. I don't know where he was. So
it's a good question.
I honestly did not even look. I looked down the bench and I was just like, and then and shout out to Cole because you commented on my post. You're like, "Where's Rafa?" And I'm like, "No clue. Who knows?"
This isn't a knock on Raffanello at all by me, but God, I didn't even notice. Like when I was looking at that lineup sheet, I was like, "Hey, is Bruno on there? Is Vasilev on there?" Yes, both of them were on there. Jan was on there. It was like, "Where's Harrell?" Harrell obviously wasn't on there. But God, now I feel so bad not even noticing Rafa not on it.
Man, I just wonder if with Rafa, you just need to send him the USL Championship. I mean, the kid's good, but
send him out to the switchbacks.
Yeah, I mean, send him out with Real. I mean, they like the Union players. I mean, I don't know. He's too good for Union 2 now at this point. I mean, is he ever going to get a fair shake? Probably not. But who knows? Well, time will tell.
Absolutely. As we get ready to wind this down, I'm
available.
Jose's available. I don't know, Jose. I mean, you've been working on your report. I think you're done it now.
I'm done.
I don't know if you've heard us say anything. Is there anything that we missed on the show that you think that we should have mentioned? Anybody want to talk about Kevin Sullivan?
I mean, what did he do? Just dribble the ball around? No, he made a couple nice plays.
I think what I would stress is just how much the word philosophy is coming across this team, right? In terms of Bradley Cornell saying it, right? I think he mentioned that this is the philosophy that we're crafting. This is the system that we're crafting. Ty Baribo, after the game, spoke to all of us, mentioning this philosophy and mentality that Bradley has instituted, and it's shining across. And I'm guessing that it's refreshing for players, especially those that weren't curtains guys. And that's not a hit against Jim whatsoever, but rather just a fresh start for everybody. And I think that's something that's, to me, really coming across.
Valerie says, I can't wait to read Jose's work at MLS. Yeah, I can't either. I mean,
that's going to be
this
exciting.
guy was working hard to our left. Cornell will implode if he does not say philosophy at least once on an interview. That may be true there, Michael. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I noticed with this team, and somebody had commented that, it was so cool for a brand new coach. I think it was Philly Union fan who said this. And it was when he said that, it was cool that Bradley Cornell noticed the fans out in the parking lot and mentioned it to the players. Look at these guys here so early tailgating. And look, Jim Curtin, phenomenal coach, phenomenal person. I love Jim Curtin. I think all three of us here love Jim Curtin, and he's been so great to the media over the years, and he's so open and everything. But it's got to be hard for Bradley Cornell coming and replacing a manager that's been here for 10 plus seasons, a guy that is from Philadelphia. And Bradley Cornell can never be from Philadelphia, but acknowledging the fans, realizing what the city of Philadelphia means and stressing that to the players, that's going to go a long way with this fan base. And you're right, Philly Union fan, that's great that Cornell mentioned that. And look, winning is going to go a long way for this team. The more this team wins, the more this fan base is going to get behind the team and the coach. And 2 games into the season, and all the negativity all of us saw in the offseason from the fans. Oh, this isn't a signing the team should make. $600,000 for a guy playing in Serbia, a guy who's moved around to multiple different clubs. Oh, we're going out here and signing a guy we never heard of in Argentina. Oh, why did we sign all these immigrant players? Well, none of that matters, right? As long as this team's winning. And the more this team wins, this fan base is going to be happy.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big thing. I mean, for me personally, that it's really, really, like you said, like Jose said about philosophy, and it's just refreshing for some of these players. And now I think the fans are starting to see it. So I'm really excited to see what the future is. I really am. I'm so intriguing right now.
Yeah, right here. Jose, do you know this question? You did a report on this. Philly Union fan said, did anyone figure out how much those seats go for, the premium seats?
I do not know, and quite frankly, I don't. I'm intrigued. My gut tells me that tonight, based on how many were there, were maybe part of I don't want to say handouts, that's not what I mean, but just part of the sponsorship packages, right? Of the sponsors go ahead and get so many seats every single game to distribute to whoever they want within the companies. My guess is that maybe that's what tonight was. I think what would be and will be more telling, and maybe we get more information, is what that area looks like in the summer, right? The dog days where it's nearly 100 degrees, it's humid as hell, right? Like how many people are actually paying for those seats? Because I can't think that myself wearing shorts that would be very comfortable on those sticky fake leather seats. And I'm also intrigued to see how they hold up with the weather, because it's not going to be pretty with the beating of the sun as well as rain, as well as, I don't know, do they cover them for snow? I'm not sure how this all works out in the future, but I'm not so bothered by them as many others are.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be good content once somebody finally gets hit by a ball. Like I said, Quinn Sullivan came close by it, and once somebody gets hit, people are going to make a big fuss about it on social media. But I'm sure the union had thought about that, right? That there's a potential, and I'm sure you sign all these waivers like, hey, look, just like you do at baseball, right? You get a bunch of warnings that, hey, look, pay attention to foul balls and everything, and we've seen so many people over the years get hit by foul balls, and so well, soccer balls, I guess, would be no different than those foul balls. But look,
who's all here?
1109, Valerie, Philly Union fan, Michael. I saw like Kaden in here. I saw Cole, Jeffrey, Evan, Frank, and Mike Barrera was in here at one point too. So a lot of people commenting, and I always feel bad.
No sexy hoagie.
She was commenting.
Billy Rover, what up? Yeah. Sexy hoagie, what up?
I'm sure they walked him already, but it is 11:09 here. We've been going for 36 minutes. Technically, we had 30 minutes, I think, from the union. So wherever that's my apologies, because I keep seeing more and more people joining, and I get excited when I see people join, and I'm like, I want to keep going for you guys. But that was Jose Nunez. His handles down here, Jose R. Nunez 91 on Twitter. You can go ahead and follow his Substack work, Jose R. Nunez, I believe. Check out his writing at mlstaco.com. That should be out, I don't know, sometime tonight. His report on
this, I'm not sure. Probably tonight, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. His MLS article. So his very first one. Doing phenomenal work. Kyle, where can people find you?
You can find me at Coach Omni on Twitter and Blue Sky, and you can also find me on TOTWAG. That's the one team we agree on. We got a new article coming out tomorrow.
And Todd Lewis here. You can follow my work at the Free Kick Podcast or my Substack where I do writing, goals, breakdown videos, thefreekick.com. Follow social media accounts at Free Kick Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Wherever you get your podcast, The Free Kick. And again, thank you so much to Mike Barrera for allowing Kyle and I to host this while Jose was working on his article for MLS. I'm going to send my article too, so that's a good sign. But the one thing I am nervous about is it's so windy out there. I have to drive back home to Maryland, only an hour away. But I heard that some bridges are turning cars away. So hopefully I'm able to get home. Hopefully you guys driving on your way home. Hopefully you guys are safe. If you guys are already home, glad you guys are safe. Hopefully you've been safe. But look, we're going to be doing this every single weekend. Post-game show here on Across the Pitch on AAT Sports. We appreciate you guys joining us here. Thanks again to Mike and Jose for allowing Kyle and I to host the show.
Yes, thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again, once again, to the Philadelphia Union for allowing us to host. But with that said, my name's Todd Lewis, and this is Across the Pitch.
Oh, wow. I was surprised you didn't say the Free Kick.